Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Renegade Roundtable podcast here. I am Jeffrey Kirby. As always, each and every week, we are joined by Jared. Jared, how in the hell are you?
It's another week. It's been an interesting week for sports.
Ooh,
Uh,
yes, it has.
I'm sure everyone knows the big thing that happened over the past weekend. I was shocked. I'm sure as you were. A little off
Um,
topic, but
that trade, yeah, getting off topic for just a quick second about that. I think that's going to be one of those trades that in 15, 20 years, we're all going to remember exactly what we were doing.
yeah, I know where I was at. I
Uh,
was out in downtown, having a enjoying hanging out with the guys, having a few drinks, and then that news happened.
I was sitting right where I am at right now in a Discord call with my boy Hunter and a couple others, and we were just in there just like, what the hell? And then I think I was having myself a drink or drink or 10 sitting right here in the spot. But yeah, that was wild. And speaking of trades, had some more interesting news that popped up yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Within the division.
Yep.
Myles Garrett requested a trade out of Cleveland.
Wow.
He be.
Imagine, like, I saw this to you. Imagine you're a Dallas Mavericks fan and a Cleveland Browns fan right now. How are you feeling?
Well, first off, that's a diabolical comment.
It is.
Got our first comment of the day from Derpy. Says, "Pookie Bears, my glorious things."
Jesus, Derpy.
What's going on, Derpy? Yeah, sorry I didn't get. You know what? I'm upset I didn't get to go to I was supposed to go to the Ohio State celebration for the national championship, and I ended up not going. Mm-hmm. Kind of wish I would have. Kind of was like, whatever. So it is what it is. I know Derpy was there, so glad that you were able to enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, got a little bit to talk about today. We're in that weird time period where
mm-hmm.
We're in that weird time period where we got the Super Bowl this weekend. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of just regular old Steeler news, not really a whole lot going on. It's a whole lot of draft. I am knee deep into this. If you have not been following me on Twitter or X, maybe politically correct here on X, which by the way, you should go follow me right there. Make sure to go follow Jared over there too. Been posting a little bit about the draft, and I know our boy Herb. He will eventually get annoyed with me as I constantly am talking draft with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am turning into Jeffrey Brian Baldinger at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the point where I'm just sending clips every which way. And it's funny. So Derpy here says, I call myself an Ohio State fan. Well, first off, yes, I am. In fact, first off, got my random Ohio State hat right there. Speaking of Ohio State, there is someone from Ohio State that is going to be very, very well watched within the next couple of months in terms of the Steelers draft and who they potentially might go after. And I'm talking about none other than wide receiver Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. But, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see with how this stuff goes on. We got the Combine later this month. We just had the Senior Bowl wrap up. Had the Senior Bowl game last on Saturday. So it's going to be interesting to see this process continue to go on. And it's going to be interesting to see, especially now with how the first top couple picks are going to transpire within the overall draft, because now there's question marks really at number 2. What are they going to do? Cleveland, what are they going to do? The whole quarterback situation gets all shot up in the air. This is going to be a wild ride.
It's a mess.
A couple of months with the draft.
Oh yeah, it's a mess. See what happens. I'm sure, like I said, the top couple picks, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be the number one?
Because as of right now, Tennessee, we don't have a clear-cut number one pick like we did last year. We knew last year all along it was going to be Caleb Williams. We don't have that this year.
Nope.
Because we don't know if Tennessee is going to go with they might shock us and go with an edge rusher. They could go with a quarterback. Are they going to go with Travis Hunter? What the hell and then you go to number 2, to Cleveland. What are they going to do? Now that Myles Garrett wants out, do you go after a pass rusher? Do you trade down and try to acquire picks? Maybe not necessarily even for this draft, but for next year when the quarterback class is supposed to be really good, when we know they desperately need a quarterback. So what are they going to do? And then you go to number 3 with the New York Giants. They're going to need a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
New England, Jacksonville, the Raiders are going to be a hot topic in terms of what they do in the draft. So this is just going to be a wild, wild ride with this draft. This draft kind of reminds me of the 2022 NFL draft. Not in terms of the quarterback class necessarily. I mean, that is a correlation, but just in terms of how wild that draft was overall.
Yep. It could go anywhere. I'm sure once free agency comes, we'll have more of an idea of who's gonna pick up what position. But as of right now, it's just we don't know. We don't know at this time of what's gonna happen in this year's draft. No, like I said, no clear cut number one is pretty insane.
Yeah. And then we're gonna get into, as we usually do at draft time. Every week we choose a random mock draft and we go over it. And this week I think we're going to go over Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft that he put. Now I don't know exactly when did he post this. So this is a little bit older, but I still haven't really looked into it. So
I have no idea.
And so we'll get into that, and then as we keep going on, we're going to find a new mock draft every week and just see what everyone's thinking so far pre-combine. Obviously, right after the combine, that's when we're going to do our first mock draft. So a little over a month out until because we typically only do 2 mock draft shows on this. We'll do one right after the combine, and then we'll do one the week before. And then last year I started something new. Now this was just personal to myself, where I did a mock draft the day of the draft before I went down to Stage 8E to do the draft show. So I might do that again this year. We shall see. You know what? Because for anyone that may be in Pittsburgh this year, I'll be in Pittsburgh again for the NFL draft. As a part of Draft Nation, we'll be doing that over at the casino, at the Three Rivers Casino this year. They're expecting a bigger crowd, so we got to get a bigger venue.
Casino, huh? Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I'm not as much of a gambler as you there, sir.
Hey. And the casino's a good spot, I'll tell you much.
Hey, if I was able to fight the urge to gamble in Vegas at the Venetian.
I know, yeah. I don't know how you did it. Nah, I would. I had to throw something.
Don't get me wrong. I gambled a little bit, but I mean, I didn't go crazy. Like I think I literally just did like $20 just to say I gambled in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I think that was an expensive trip there, sir.
I understand. Understandable.
But before we get into this mock draft, I do want to talk about. We were talking about wide receivers and potential for the Steelers. There's another new name that's popped up, and he's not an NFL draft prospect for the Steelers that could be potentially happening. And that's we could call him pretty much a former Rams wide receiver, Kupp.
Yep.
The Rams said that they are going to trade him. That was literally per Kupp himself. So there looks like they're going to be trading him away. So it's a matter of, all right, where's he going to go?
Yep.
And here's my question to Steeler fans. Where is your mind at now versus 2-3 months ago when Steeler fans were hoping to try and get him at the trade deadline? Has your mind set changed, or have you changed your mind at all? because I do think that there is a reason why we can change, why our minds can change in just a short amount of time over the same player.
Oh, I don't know. What is he worth at this time compared to the trade deadline was probably a little bit different. So, I would like to have him, but what's he worth? The trade for him. That's the big question.
I think actually the bigger question is, if you're going to trade for him, how much money are you going to have to take on versus are you able to convince convince LA to take on a little bit?
Yeah, isn't his contract a little bit different? He has to let some guaranteed money if they trade for him. I think that's what it was. Yeah, they're talking about it. I heard about his contract situation. So, what are you willing to give up? How much you're willing to take on his contract? I don't know how many years left he has on his deal. If I had to guess, 2 years, maybe 3. If you know, Kirby.
I don't know fully for sure. I'm actually kind of looking this up right now.
But a lot of people are going to go, are going to ask for Cooper Kupp. So, not just Steeler fans, of course. There's going to be a lot of teams, pitching in and see, he can go anywhere if he really wants to, pretty much.
Here's where I'm at on this. And the reason why I worded the way that I said it, I said the way I said it in terms of Cooper Kupp. 2-3 months ago, I was full on interested in wanting Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Now, not so much.
Oh, I agree.
And the reason being is because of the money.
Mm-hmm.
You're still at minimum. It looks like you're going to be on the hook for $12.5 million.
Oof.
He's 31. I want to say he's 31. He'll be 32 when the next season starts.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, he has. Okay, so the last time he had a 1,000-yard year was in 2021, the year that they went to the Super Bowl, and he had damn near 2,000 yards.
Oh, wow.
2022, he only played in 9 games, and then the last 2023 and 2024, he played in 12. So we haven't gotten him in a full season in a couple years. So you got to deal with the durability. You got to deal with the fact that, like, here, here at the end of what Derpy says, I would love Cooper Kupp, but he's got old. See, I agree with he's getting up there in age a little bit in terms of the money and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, it feels like you're just healing bullet holes with duct tape.
Yep.
You can't. It feels like a move like this would be something that is constantly why the Steelers are in the position that they're in.
Yep.
If you're going to go after a wide receiver, get young. Go in the draft. Get yourself a wide receiver, whether it's hopefully in Mecca Buka, hell, someone a name Luther Burden might be a possibility. Although, me personally, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of that. But that is a name to watch out for. So there's a couple names right there in terms of wide receivers. And then we all know that the Steelers might go after a wide receiver in, later on in the draft if they decide to not go with a wide receiver at pick number 21, which I personally think they should. But that's a different story for a different day. And then I got asked this question last night in the group chat because we're talking about someone asked me and goes, all right, in my opinion, who should the Steelers go after if we're going to go after a wide receiver? And I had said it's easily a Mecca Buka. And then she had asked the question, if we draft a receiver, what happens with Roman Wilson? And then you got to think too, we got Calvin Austin, who's going to be ready to get an extension at some point. What do you do with him? And I say, well, right now, as of this moment, with George Pickens still being on the team,
yep.
George Pickens is your number one. He's your deep threat. He's someone that could take top off the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Your wide receiver 2, make it a Mecca Buka. Now, this is where I'm hoping that he comes into play. because with what he's able to do, I think he is the perfect match for what the Steelers need.
I think the safest pick, honestly, he could block. I'm sure he could do a whole great.
He can block. He can block, and he's someone that I have been on record, and I will continue to be on record with this. I will go to my grave with this for now, that he is, to me, quote unquote, bust proof. I don't see a scenario where he's a bust in the NFL. He's smooth with his movements. Like you mentioned, he can block. You go to Ohio State, you're gonna block. He'll do the dirty work over the middle. I think he's going to be very QB friendly, especially in scramble drill.
Mm-hmm.
Create separation with his movements.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I've seen comps of Amon-Ra St. Brown with him. So if you get anything like that, you're doing pretty damn well for yourself.
And I think we should.
And I think this is a big part. Now, granted, this is as of now. He is not a character issue.
Yep.
I think that's big when it comes to talking about Steeler wide receivers here.
It's very, very, very true. Because they're talking about the LSU receiver that has character issues. Kind of like.
But
anyways, you should pair him up with pair him up with the Ohio State quarterback. I think we know him really well. I think it'd be great. It would help him a lot, I would think.
So here's my dream scenario. Okay?
You're not going to get all Ohio State players. I'm telling you that right now. The running back's not going to happen.
Justin Fields at your quarterback, Emeka Egbuka as your wide receiver. We'll call him 2. As much as I'd love to have Travion Henderson in this,
you're not going to have him.
You know what? As crazy as this sounds, and I just had this conversation with our boy Herb. I had this conversation with him last week. There's a slight chance that Travion Henderson might end up a late first-round pick, which is a couple months ago. You know what? I can't even say that's fully crazy because one thing that you guys don't know. So in the summertime, this goes back to this is how deep I go into with this draft stuff. Back in the summer, back in June, it was May or June, I started a list of guys to watch that could be potential first-round picks. And Travion Henderson was one of those guys on that list. And there was a little bit of time where I'm like, all right, there's going to probably just be the one running back, and that's going to be Ashton Genty. Yeah. That'll go in the first round, and then that'll be that. Now Travion Henderson is being talked about as a potential first-round pick. Someone that's never fumbled the ball at Ohio State. He's been very good at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He has a second burst.
Yep.
So I think at this point, that's
I'm not against
it.
I'm not against it. But if he's,
when I say that, I'm not talking about the Steelers going going to draft Travion Henderson in the first round. That's not what I'm going with that here.
No.
I just had to make that very clear because I was not a fan of us going after Najee Harris. I will still say that. I'll say that back then, say it now. I wasn't a fan, not because of the player, but because I thought the philosophy was wrong with the way that they wanted to handle the run game. And that philosophy still sticks with me to this day. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be very blunt. We're looking at Saquon Barkley doing whatever he's doing. That's great. Look at his offensive line. That offensive line is unreal. You build from the inside out when it comes to when you're trying to build a run game.
No, I agree. They should have drafted O-line with that pick instead, but it is what it is. But like you said, Najee's a free agent now. He's I don't know if he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back as of now. You got to keep one of the two, either him or Jalen Warren. I think Warren's going to be signed. re-signed. Once it,
And then the question becomes, do you truly think that he could be a running back one? Now, I know we've had this conversation, now, maybe not necessarily on this show, but there's been the conversation about whether Jaylen Warren can be the running back one. There's a difference between being the running back one and a running back by committee versus being the just bell horse, bell cow RB1.
Yep.
There's a different story when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys truly think that he can be a bell cow running back one? And that now, obviously, that's a question that can be asked, 1,000 times between now and training camp, between now and September.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's something that you got to think about if you're looking into this running back market, if you're looking into this running back draft class.
Yep. Because I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But because it just, going from, the dream scenario, it was a dream scenario for you. It was, get Travion Henderson, get Emeka Egbuka, have Justin Fields as quarterback. What I think more likely will happen, I really hope they re-sign Justin Fields. I think that's the best bet, in my opinion, as of right now.
Yes, I would agree with that. If out of the scenarios that would be go after a quarterback at free agency, which no. So are you going to go for one in the draft here? Hell no.
Please don't.
Hell no. Which, by the way, you want to talk about quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe did himself absolutely zero favors last week at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I seen it.
He did himself zero favors.
No blame.
And because there were specific Steeler fans
that
I saw clamoring for him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. I'd rather have Kenny Pickett as our quarterback. I'd rather have Mitch Trubisky as our quarterback again. I'd rather have Devlin Duck Hodges.
Oh man. I'll try to think. I'll have Landry Jones as my quarterback.
That was going to be my next name.
Give me Kyle Allen all day.
Oof. Hey, Kyle Allen, you know what? Speaking of Kyle Allen, I am a Kyle Allen fan because Kyle Allen is a partier and can golf. That's my kind of guy. Here we got a couple comments here that I want to go. First off, here was, I think Jeff can be a bell cow running back one. LOL. First off, let's be honest here. You're trying to call me the actual just cow. You're just trying to call me the cow. Okay, so let's go there. Derpy says they are going after Fields for years. The question will be the amount of money if Fields accepts. See, here's my thing, though, is I know that Art Rooney said he wanted a quarterback longer than a 1-year deal. I think, to me personally, the most that I'd want to do is a 2-year deal, and that's also kind of in the mindset because I'm hoping that the Steelers are bad enough to where we go after a quarterback next year. We don't have to be a top 5 pick, although I think that would be very beneficial, actually, to this team, but that's not going to happen. That's just not realistic.
Yep.
But I think if the Steelers were to have a down year and they were actually able to go and get a top 10, 11 pick, I think they'd be in a position where they could go after a quarterback next year in a class that's supposed to be a lot better.
Oh, yeah. 2-year deal is probably, but I think he wants 3. I really do think he wants 3. I think that's the thing. I think he wants 3. A 3-year deal.
And then we have another from our guy Meat Cheer says, "Do you guys think Egbuka or Emeka will be there for us at 21? If not, do you like any other running or wide receivers at 21, or do you like D-line if our guy is there?" Yes, I do think that Emeka Egbuka will be there. Now, when you look at this wide receiver class, now to me, in my opinion, depending on how you want to look at Travis Hunter is probably the wide receiver 1.
Yep.
Tech McMillan from Arizona is going to be your number 2.
Yep.
And then Emeka Buka, to me, is my wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is also, I mean, you got guys like Luther Burden, who some people might be more fans of from Missouri. I'm personally not the biggest fan of him. You got A.O. Manor from Stanford. I think he's someone that will be interested. I know our boy Herb, that's one of his draft crushes, is A.O. Manor. So
Golden as well, a Texas guy.
Yeah, so you got him. Trey Harris is someone that's a possibility as a potential first-round wide receiver. So, I mean, there's a bunch of guys that now I do think he will be there. Mm-hmm. If he's not, you say, all right, let's start talking about defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. Mason Graham's not going to be there.
I wish.
Walter Nolan's not going to be there from Ole Miss.
Unfortunate.
Kenneth Grant from Michigan might be a possibility. Mm-hmm. Deion Walker from Kentucky. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch him yet at all, so I don't know much about. I haven't been able to do a deep dive on him. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But yes, I do think Emeka Buka will be there, and I would prefer for us to go after a wide receiver, even if it's someone like a. I mean,
have you looked at any? I know we're talking about defensive line. Is there any like corners you would say as well?
Corners, I haven't. I've done a tiny deep dive on. I did obviously Travis Hunter, and the only other corner that I've done is Jahdae Barron from Texas, and he was a weird one to watch because he was someone that he plays like they played him in so many different spots.
Oh, okay.
They played him in the way that their defense had him playing last year. Was weird because he could play outside, he could play in the slot. He even has safety experience, so he has the versatility. He's instinctual in terms of he can read routes. Mm-hmm. He's going to be around the ball. He has 24 career pass deflections, 8 career interceptions. He is physical. But I do think the issue with him is that he's not the best tackler, and I don't think he has that elite recovery speed that you would like to see in a corner, and I do think he can be a little too aggressive in terms of I think he could bite on pump fakes. So I think those are kind of my concerns on him. I mean, he was the Jim Thorpe winner for best defensive back in college football last year, so I think there's that for him. But those are the only 2 corners, and then obviously we all know about Travis Hunter. I mean, we don't have to go into big detail about him. I do think that he struggles on press. Mm-hmm.
But does that show any interest going into round 1? If let's say Emeka Buka's gone, we're going by best player available, basically. Do they stick with going receiver, going with a different receiver? Do they go a different position? It's still early, of course, but
yeah, it's still early. I think in terms of the corners, I don't know if I'd be able to answer that as well right now because I haven't been able to do a deep dive. Like even though I think he'll be gone way before Will Johnson from Michigan, I haven't had a chance to look at him. Benjamin Morris from Notre Dame, Siobhan Revell from East Carolina, the guy from Florida State, still can't pronounce his first name. Is that whatever Thomas? Yep. There's a couple guys in this draft I'm gonna have trouble figuring out their names, but so I haven't had a chance to look at them. I think over the next couple of days, that's something I'll have to do is really try to focus in on the corners because
it's a main need. You know, it's a part, one of the priorities depending on what we do in free agency. So we'll see.
And Derpy here says, I'd rather have Brucey from the longest yard as my quarterback. than Milrow. Don't blame you there, bud. Do not blame you there. Now, a guy last night that I watched. Now he's a safety.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I lied. He's a linebacker. I was thinking of Malachi Starks. Now, a guy that I watched last night. Now, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I posted him today. Jihad Campbell. He's an off-ball linebacker from Alabama. He's someone I think is going to be fun. And I think my very early prediction on him is that he's going to end up a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. That's just a weird gut feel. I have two gut feelings I've come up with today on real early picks. Now, last year, this was me with JJ. Back early January of last year, I said I thought JJ McCarthy was going to end up a Viking and so what happened.
Yeah.
I have two early predictions this year on what I think is going to happen. Jihad Campbell's going to end up a Buccaneer. Ashton Genty's going to end up a Las Vegas Raider.
Really, Genty.
And here's the reason why. Because I was just having this conversation right before you and me got on. He's the Raiders always have a weird thing when it comes to some of their picks.
Yep, yeah. It's very true.
They pick guys and you're just like, yeah, I mean, that's a Raider pick. That is a Raider pick. But I think the issue with that is if they don't go after a quarterback, say both quarterbacks are gone, they're going to need a wide receiver. I could see them looking and say, hey, look at Ashton Genty, look at the athlete and say, yeah, I have this weird feeling that they're going to do some Raider ass shit.
It's a Raider pick. I'm not going to disagree with you. Just like the Brock Bowers pick.
Although the Brock Bowers pick was a little... that one I understood a little bit more. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. Speaking of which, I got a little bit bored earlier, and so I was looking at a little span of time for the Raiders drafts. In the first round from 2019 to 2023. And Brandon, I see your comment here in 1 second. I'll get to you in 1 second. So in 2019, the Raiders decided to go ahead and draft Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Abrams. 2020, Damon Arnett and Henry Ruggs.
Nowhere to be found anymore.
2021, Alex Leatherwood.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
And then 2022, they did not have a first-round pick. In 2023, they had Tyree Wilson.
Yep.
Yikes. So then here, Brandon here says, so no Genty to the Bears.
Ooh.
I think it would make sense, but I just, and like I said, this is just going off of pure gut. I got a big gut
I
here.
think the Bears need more of an offensive line than a running back.
Yeah, I think with them, I think one of these offensive linemen, whether it's if Will Campbell's still available or I'm losing complete brain cells here. He says Ben Johnson needs his Gibbs. I also think too that if you're the Bears too, I think the one thing that you also have to look into is you got to try and protect Caleb Williams as much as humanly possible. I think too that, and Kelvin Banks, I think that will be another possibility. The left tackle from Texas, I think he's a possibility. I don't think they're going to necessarily go with a right tackle. Emory Jones from LSU, I don't think that's going to be necessarily the case. Josh Connerly, even though I wonder if that might be a little too high at this moment to be a top 10 pick, but I also haven't had a chance to really fully look at him yet. Or they could go with a guard, Tyler Booker, who from Alabama, who's one of my favorite players in this whole entire draft. That's one of my, I posted this on X last night. It's funny. I said, in terms of regular love crushes, got one. In terms of NFL draft crushes, I'm going to have 13 and I'm going to look like a complete whore. But right now I have two. Ted McMillan and Tyler Booker. Those are my two right now. but I think those are possibilities.
Yeah.
And I understand that, you might want to go after a Gibbs, or, he needs his Gibbs, and that would be someone like Ashton Genty. I also think too, now I'm assuming you're a Bears fan, Brandon. What pick do the Bears have in the second round? Because I think there's a chance there where you could go after a running back in the second round. I think that's where, if you have an early second round pick, I think that's where,
Yep.
Oh, no, you're a Texans fan. Okay. So, hey, you got my boy CJ Stroud as a quarterback. So I like that.
They need O-line help too.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They need O-line help too.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at in terms of, so the Bears have 39 and 41, I think. All right. So, there's definitely a chance that they could go after a running back in the second round, depending on what happens with Travion Henderson. Does he go late in the first round? You got Caleb Johnson from Iowa. You got Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. I think those are guys that are going to be interesting. And then, hell, even when you get to the third round, you're going to have Ollie Gordon. You're going to have Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scatterboo.
Yep.
So, there's some guys.
Look at Scatterboo. Love that. What a good guy. I love watching that game with Scatterboo.
I think those are going to be some guys that you can look at in terms of for running backs if you're the Bears. Jake Herb says Najee in free agency. Yeah, well, there you go. There's your free agent. You go get yourself a very heavily used Najee Harris. Depends on if the Bears go O-line and free agency too. I also think too that if you're the Bears, I think it would be a little bit smarter for them to go maybe in the draft. Well, yes, you could go and get yourself a running, or go and get yourself an offensive lineman in free agency. I think going with offensive line in the draft and going young and building a young core within that offense, I think that would be probably a very smart move if you're Ryan Poles over there in Chicago. So we'll see. We shall see. Let's get into this. Let's get into this mock draft. Our first one of the year. And by the way, if you guys have still comments while we're going through this, shoot them out. Shoot out all your comments, even if we're going through this mock draft. We're always going to be down to answer some questions and talk. So let's zoom in here a little bit. So let's go with the Daniel Jeremiah draft mock draft 1.0. So the Tennessee Titans. Yep. So they go with, and Brandon, I see your comment. They go with Abdul Carter. So like I mentioned,
yep,
there's a shit show of potential picks that could go on at number one. Now, I don't necessarily think that Abdul Carter is number one. Is number one worthy, especially with where they're at. But now, in this case, Daniel Jeremiah says Carter is the best player in this draft, and he is at a premium position. That part I agree on. He is a premium position. I'm weird on Abdul Carter. I love the prospect, but and I think the upside is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if you're Tennessee and you don't like one of the quarterbacks, I understand not wanting to go and get a left tackle. I understand that one 100%, number one. Or go in and get yourself a tackle, period, or an offensive lineman, period. You look at it. So then you would say, all right, go and get yourself your premier pass rusher. I don't know if I could see them passing up on a generational talent and I know, for those that know me, I don't like using the word generational talent heavily. We went through this last year with Caleb Williams, but I do think someone like Travis Hunter is someone that is, in terms of what he's able to do on both sides of the ball.
He's number one worthy. That's all. I just don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if Tennessee would do that, but
Caleb is more mobile than Goff, so you see Ben Johnson doing unique protection schemes and skill player usage to cover up the O-line play. Yeah, but I also think, too, even if Caleb's more mobile, I think that's where – and going into – so last year, one of my main concerns with Caleb Williams was someone that I think that he's going to take too many sacks. Now, I know that part of that is on him, but part of it, too, is just based on the offensive line itself. And so – I forget how many sacks that he took last year. Now, again, it's not all on the offensive line, but I think, too, if you have a young quarterback like that, I think getting yourself offensive line help is absolutely huge in terms of helping Caleb Williams develop, too. That's kind of where I'm at. Pick number 2, the Cleveland Browns. So they go after Travis Hunter. Okay. Now, this is before Myles Garrett decided to say he wants out of Cleveland, which I don't blame him. But Cleveland's in a tough spot. In my opinion, I was just on a call yesterday about this. I don't know if that number 2 spot in this draft with where the Browns are at, I don't know if that's a luxury pick. Like, I don't know if having the second pick in this draft is a luxury to have, as crazy as that sounds. Unless you're able to trade down and acquire an additional first-round pick in next year's draft, then that's where it could be valuable.
Yeah, I would be looking to trade down if I was them, because if they stick here, I think they go. I think they go Abdul Carter now, since Myles Garrett wants to be traded. You got to replace him. Well, that's all you got to replace him.
So it's going to be interesting to see with what they do. And if they do decide to trade down, now you bring in probably Abdul Carter will more likely be gone.
Yeah.
So then you look and say, all right, who's going to be the next best pass rusher? Or you start talking about the tackles. That's when I think someone like Will Campbell starts coming into play, or Kelvin Banks. I think that's where he starts coming into play as well, depending on where they want to trade down, because they're going to need a left tackle too. They need a lot of pieces on that team. And if you're going to trade Myles Garrett, you might as well go ahead and just do a full-blown reset. Trade away Denzel Ward. Trade away anyone that you got. And just full-blown go in. Now, granted, if I'm a Browns fan, I don't trust Andrew Berry to touch my picks at all. Kevin Stefanski, I think you got your hands tied behind your back. I don't put a lot of this on Kevin Stefanski. I put a lot of this on their ownership and their front office.
Yep.
But that shit show that they're in of a situation. But that's here nor there. But I mean, Travis Hunter, I talked about generational. I think that would be a way to help. So we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, the New York Giants. So this is where we get our first quarterback.
Yep.
Cam Ward.
Yep.
I've been on record, and I will say it again, and I will continue to say it until someone can somehow persuade me. Cam Ward will not be a good quarterback in the NFL.
No.
I am calling that now.
So you'd rather have Shador?
If you put a gun to my head and said I had to choose a quarterback in this draft class between Cam Ward and Shador, yes, I would choose Shador. Shador, whatever you want to call it. So that I would prefer Shador over Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward, there's upside, but I don't know if the Giants can handle upside. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring that out.
The Giants have a lot more issues than just the quarterback, even though it's the most important role.
Yeah. Number 4, the New England Patriots. They go after Will Campbell. Now, again, you won't hear an argument from me in terms of wanting to protect Drake May. When you have a young quarterback, protecting your quarterback, you won't get an argument out of me. Now, am I the biggest fan of Will Campbell? Not necessarily in terms of at least his last year's tape, 2024 tape, I wasn't the biggest fan of. But there is definitely a reason why he's the consensus top left tackle in this and the top tackle in this draft. Mm-hmm. But I think you're not going to get an argument out of me in this pick.
Nope.
Number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They go after Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan. Now, contrary to popular belief, because yes, I am an Ohio State fan, I do think Mason Graham's going to be good. I think he's a bully in the run game.
Yep.
He's someone that has upside as a pass rusher. Now, the one thing, so this was interesting. So I don't get told very many things, insider stuff. But I did get this little tidbit, and I confirmed it with actually one of his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Something to be watching out for is going to be Mason Graham and a potential work ethic issue. So, be curious to see how that works out over the course of. Now, granted, again, Brian Brissy had that same issue. I believe he went to New Orleans.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, I think he's doing pretty well for himself. So, I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be to watch out for. But I am a big fan of Mason Graham.
It's a good pick for the Jags.
Number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders. They go after Shedeur. So, in this case, they get ourselves a quarterback, which, hey, they get the quarterback of their future. They sure as hell hope so. They got a new offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly. They got Pete Carroll.
Yep.
Pete Carroll's not afraid of. No, I'm not saying there's character issues when it comes to Shedeur. It's more of the outside stuff outside of Shedeur that you're going to have to worry about. Yep. But, I mean, Pete Carroll, we've seen what he's been able to do. You got Chip Kelly. May not be a bad idea. If you're a Raiders fan, I'd be happy if I was you.
It'll be good. You got Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll. Hopefully a good start for the Raiders, you know. Oh, man, they've been through a struggle. But
Number 7, the New York Jets. They go after Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State.
Man.
You want to talk about someone that has the potential to be a stud in the NFL.
I've seen it.
It is Tyler Warren. Because Tyler Warren is someone that, well, I think he's still a little raw at the position. He's someone that when you watch the tape, he has the potential to be something very good. Actually, shit, I forgot. But I mean, yeah, when you look at Tyler Warren, he's someone that he's raw at the position, but he has the chance to be very good in the NFL. I think he reminds me a lot of the same path as David Njoku. I think he's someone that, because David Njoku coming out of Miami, he was someone that was a little raw at the position, and that position takes a little bit of time to develop. Yep. But once you were able to get going, he's going to be good. And I think he needs to get a little bit better at blocking. But other than that, I think whoever the hell the quarterback's going to be, whether it's still Aaron Rodgers or not, I think they're going to like him a lot. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers. They go after Ted McMillan. So there's that draft crush I was talking about.
Yep.
That's the guy that I like. If there was a receiver that I wish the Steelers could get, it would be him, but that's not going to be the case, obviously. And I think Bryce Young would love him dearly.
Wow, you got him, Leggett. Thielen's still there, right?
Huh?
You still got Thielen over there?
Yeah. Maybe?
Maybe? I don't know. I just know.
He's 6'5".
Yep.
So there's that. You have a mile-long catch radius. He's a consensus All-American. He uses his hands well. He's a crisp route runner. My only issue with him is I don't think he has elite speed, but reminds me a lot of Michael Pittman. I'm a big Michael Pittman fan, so that kind of helps things out too. Number 9, the New Orleans Saints. They go after Mikael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia. So I do know that they're going to definitely want to go after some defense. He was someone that I just watched real recently within the last couple of days. I think he's someone that he's a prototypical size for an NFL defensive end. 6'5", 265. And that's a pretty damn good, your prototypical size. I do think that he has the potential to play both in a 3-4 and a 4-3. I think he could be the 3 technique. I saw him play the 3 technique and the 5 technique on that defensive line. I think he's versatile where you could play him, but I think he's still a little tiny bit raw in this. But I do think too, especially, and it doesn't help that Georgia has a big rotation within their defensive line, so he doesn't have the snaps that some of these other pass rushers do. But I think he's someone that's going to be pretty damn well for him.
Yeah.
Number 10, the Chicago Bears. Hey, so we were just talking about the Chicago Bears too, and I was preaching offensive line. Well, there you go. And there was my second draft crush that I have, Tyler Booker. And I agree with this statement 1,000,000% here. He's one of the safest picks in this draft. I am so on with that. I agree with that 1,000,000,000%. If I'm a Bears fan and I'm looking at offensive line, this would probably be my number 1 player that I'd want. Number 11, the San Francisco 49ers. They go after Ahmed Membu, the offensive line from Missouri. Now, he's someone I have not had a chance to really look at yet, so I don't know a whole lot about him. But, I mean, hey, if you want to go after protecting your quarterback, which that whole situation out there is going to be interesting to see what happens with him and Brock Purdy. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Number 12, the Dallas Cowboys. Hey.
Yeah.
This would be a Dallas Cowboy pick, too.
No shocker here, honestly.
Yeah, not shocking at all. As much as what I just said earlier about what I thought about Jetty to the Raiders. But we shall see. Miami Dolphins, they go after Kelvin Banks. Hey, like you mentioned here, nothing is more important than protecting Tua, and I agree. So I got no issues with that. If you need to go and boost your offensive line, you ain't going to get much argument out of me going up for Kelvin Banks. Number 14, the Colts go after Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas. Now, that's the guy I was just talking about a little bit earlier. He's someone that's very versatile on where you could play him. He mentions the ball skills. Like I said, he has 24 career pass deflections. He's instinctive. So I think that is someone that would be a good pick for him.
Mm-hmm.
15, the Atlanta Falcons, they go after Will Johnson, which, as much as I hate Michigan, just from watching some of the Michigan games, just in itself, I haven't had a chance to really do a deep dive on the tape. But Will Johnson, and from obviously our boy Herb, when it comes to Michigan, I think he's someone that's going to be very good in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's a good spot for him too. Atlanta be very pair him up with. Got Jesse Banks. You got the other corner, but it's a good spot.
Yeah. Arizona at number 16, they go after Jaylen Walker, linebacker from Georgia. Now, I haven't had a chance to really look into him yet, but he's someone that will. I think Arizona, they're gonna need a little bit of help on the defensive side.
Yep.
And so they're gonna get that.
It's a start. It's a start.
It's a start. Number 17, the Cincinnati Bengals, they go after Walter Nolan. And good Lord have mercy, please don't let this happen.
Wow.
I would be pissed if this happens. Because Walter Nolan is a good football player.
Yep.
He has, in my opinion, I think he has top 10 talent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let him fall to number 17, the Cincinnati, I'm going to be pissed. Now, the question also becomes what happens with T. Higgins.
Yep.
Jamar Chase, that whole thing's not done and over with yet either.
Nope. But that's the two questions right now. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go?
But I also agree, too, that, yes, they need defensive help badly.
Yep, they do.
They were bad last year, I guess, on defense. And there was a reason why Lou Anarumo was let go.
And didn't Mr. Henderson requested a trade?
He did.
So that's another sign.
So we shall see. Number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. They go after Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan. Now, I think he's someone that's going to be an absolute bully in the run game. I don't know if I see much of a upside in terms of being a pass rusher, but in terms of a run stuffer, he is definitely that. He's going to be a one gap penetrator and go. So we shall see. Number 12. Hey, what did I predict earlier?
Yep.
I said that I thought that Jahad Campbell has a good chance of going to Tampa Bay, and
look like you just know your stuff, huh?
So for some odd reason, there's certain players that you just have like really gut feelings about, and this was one of them. And so far, my big gut is helping in this case. Number 20, the Denver Broncos. They take Nick Emenwari. I definitely butchered that name, and I apologize. He is someone that I have not had a chance to look at yet because I haven't really looked into much of any of the safeties outside of Malachi Starks. It's the only safety that I've had a chance to look at. But, hey, if Daniel Jeremiah is saying that he's giving Derwin James vibes, then yeah, that might be someone that you might want to go after. Now I have to go and do my own little due diligence on him and see, but we'll have to see. All right.
Let's see. It's definitely a receiver.
Sure as hell hope. With the 21st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Matthew Golden. So you get your wide receiver.
But it's not the one
Now, in this case, I haven't had a chance to do Matthew Golden. Now, he is someone that I will definitely be watching very closely in the next couple of months because he is definitely a Steeler potential.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I've seen when I was studying some of the Texas games, like when I was studying Kelvin Banks and I'm studying guys like that, I'm still kind of watching Matthew Golden as I'm going on. So I saw a little bit, and there was definitely stuff that I liked out of him, but I haven't had a chance to just focus solely on him yet. So it's going to be interesting. He might be someone that I'll work on this week. So who's the hell? Maybe I'll work on him as soon as we get done here. Because that's just what I do here. But we shall see. Number 22, the Chargers go after Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Now, we already know there's the connection of Jim Harbaugh, Colston Loveland, Michigan. You know, there's that. And we know how much Jim Harbaugh loves tight ends.
Yep.
So I think this pick makes total sense. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yep.
When it comes to him, he kind of reminds me of a very poor man's Travis Kelce. A very poor man's Travis Kelce.
Very poor, man.
That's just my personal opinion. Number 23, the Green Bay Packers go after Shemar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. Another one of those guys I haven't had a chance to fully look at yet, but I mean, Green Bay, they need to get after the quarterback, and here you go. Now, granted, Green Bay, I think, is also a team that might be in the potential Myles Garrett running.
Yep.
I think Green Bay, and then you have the big three. I think the big three, and if they can make the money work, would be teams that would be interested: Detroit, Philadelphia, Kansas City. I do think that those three teams are of interest. I think Green Bay's another team. Buffalo, I think, is going to be highly interested. I think a wild card team that you haven't heard much of might be Houston. They got Will Anderson already. Bring in Myles Garrett. He's from Texas. So that would be interesting.
Yep.
Number 24, the Minnesota Vikings. They go after Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. Just watched him a couple nights ago, and he's someone that I think a team is absolutely going to love. He reminds me of a faster and more athletic Minka.
Interesting.
So, in terms of he's versatile of where you could play him. I saw him play in the box, played a little bit of slot. He play obviously the regular safety position. He has good size, fluid in his hips. He's going to be a good football player, and I think the Minnesota Vikings would like him, especially. They know what it's like to have a good safety. They've had Harrison Smith for over a decade.
Yep.
So, number 25, the Houston Texans. They go after Luther Burden, the wide receiver from Missouri. Now, you guys heard what I had to say about Luther Burden a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of him, and that's just a personal opinion of me. Hey, and his Burden reminds him of Stephon Diggs. I could see it a little bit. I think he's someone that's going to be yards after catch machine. He's going to get separation, but he has good ball skills. Pause. But I do think that I think my biggest issue with him is that he wasn't the best in terms of in scramble drill, in terms of helping his quarterback out. That was one thing that I noticed, but that's also me being nitpicky a little bit as well.
Yep.
26, the Los Angeles Rams. Still feels weird to see them. Yeah, like he says here, so weird seeing the Rams in the first round. So we haven't had, outside of last year, it was the first time in like a decade, it felt like.
Yep.
They go after Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon. Now, they last year with defensive line, so this year they go with offensive line.
Not mad at it.
Yeah, I could see it.
It's just the timeline of Matthew Stafford is how I'm seeing this, you know.
Yep. Number 27, the Baltimore Ravens. They go after the corner from Florida State. So last year they went after Nate Wiggins, and this year they double down, and they get I got to figure out how to pronounce his name. I apologize. I got to phonetically go through all that. He's someone that I have not watched, but I've heard that he's a guy that a lot of people are starting to really grow on.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have to see how that goes. Number 28, the Detroit Lions. They go after Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. This guy can fly off the edge. He can fly off the edge. He was someone that lit it up at the Senior Bowl. Because now it helps too that he played off-ball linebacker in high school. He was a wrestler in high school. Anytime you get in the trenches and you mention that you're a wrestler to me, my ears perk up a little bit, because that means you know how to move. I think he has a fast get off. He's a natural bender around the corner. I think that he is a relentless motor. And yeah, you get your bookend on the opposite end of Aiden Hutchinson. I think that people are going to question, anytime you play one of the somewhat smaller-ish schools, even like Marshall, you're going to question the competition. But I did see him run over Josh Connerly, an offensive tackle we just saw get drafted here from Oregon. We saw him run him over at the Senior Bowl. So I think that shows there. And I think he's going to struggle a little bit with bigger offensive linemen, but I just think that's kind of natural. He's only 248. So my question is going to be, can he play the 5 technique in a 4-man front? I think that's something that you're going to have to watch out for. But I think as an edge rusher, I love him a lot. Number 29, the Washington Commanders. They go after Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from the world famous national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. And hey, by the way, too, another team I forgot to mention, Washington, underrated team to go after Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another team that would be very interested in him. But you want to get protection for Jaden Daniels, I am all for it.
Yep.
You ain't going to get an argument out of me. Number 30, the Buffalo Bills. They go after Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon. Now, like I mentioned, Miles, I think they're going to they definitely need to go defensive line because I think they definitely need to try and get to the quarterback more. I think that's been their biggest culprit in terms of when they face Kansas City. They can't get to Patrick Mahomes.
Nope, but you saw it.
And I think they definitely need to go after someone that could on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So, number 31, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, 31-32, that's still to be determined. They have them going with TJ Sanders, defensive tackle from South Carolina. He's someone that I haven't had a chance to watch, but I know he had a pretty damn good he was pretty damn good. So, and what's new? Philadelphia going after defensive line.
Yep.
Just get better and better. The Kansas City Chiefs go after James Pierce, which is funny because at one point in time, there were talks about him being the number 1 overall pick. And now he's barely making it into the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, I just got to go through real quick. I just realized something. Maybe I forgot, but I got to check. I got to check on something.
He's not in the first round if you think what I'm thinking.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's oof. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
It's early. It's early.
Yeah, I don't see a scenario where that happens, but
yeah.
You're nor there. But other than that, Super Bowl, who do you got?
Man.
Who do you have and who are you rooting for?
Unfortunately, I think we all know who's going to win this Super Bowl. It's the Chiefs. But I'm rooting for the Eagles. There's only one man that can stop him, and that man is Saquon Barkley. If Saquon Barkley can have himself the game of his life against the Chiefs, then they will win this game.
This might be me drinking the haterade.
Uh-huh.
I might get some flag for what I'm about to say.
Oh, boy.
I might be rooting for Kansas City because I don't want to see Kenny Pickett get a ring.
You are such a hater. You rather have a three-peat than
Yes,
Kenny
I'd rather
Pickett
see the first ever NFL three-peat than see Kenny Pickett with a Super Bowl ring as a backup quarterback while we are in purgatory.
I get it.
That's how that, and I hate Philly.
I don't like.
I love Saquon Barkley. Love Saquon Barkley. There's not really any players that I hate on Philadelphia. I hate their fans.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Then I like sometimes once in a while going against the grain.
But we'll see what happens. I'm gonna put some money on this game, of course. Who wouldn't, right?
Me.
I forgot. Yeah, you.
Although we'll see. I might throw like $10 or $5 or something in there just for shits.
Oh yeah. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, the Chiefs are favored by 1.
Okay.
And it's the over-under is 49, which it could be. I think it should be more, but we'll see. I want both teams to lose personally, but there has to be a winner.
We shall see. But till then, if you guys haven't yet, if you are on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you are on X, go and follow us both. He's there. I'm there. Go follow us. If you're on my Facebook, what's good? Until then, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Let's come up with a national drinking game. So we shall see. But until then, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Have fun. Peace out. Fuck the Yankees and fuck the Magic, by the way. Yeah.